Game 4 action here, and there are quite a few engine parts on the board. There's draw in lab, there is also draw in rabble and ghost ship, which are also attacks you want to play frequently. There's distant lands as a source of alternative VP. Bridge troll you can play. Grand market is an excellent card. However, there are two main problems with the engine. One, there's junk coming in from Soothsayer and there's no way to trash, or no way to thin rather, and there's no source of plus actions. So I think the engine is going to be a bit tough, if at all possible, on this board. So if not engine, well then you're playing money, and it seems like your best money option is Soothsayer and money, maybe a Noble Brigand to try to steal some golds perhaps. And another thing on the board too, there's Relic with Borrow. So if your opponent picks up a Relic and you sort of have an idea when it's going to come, then you can especially look to Borrow on that turn to avoid, so to speak, the Relic attack. Just something to keep in mind. Borrow can also help you hit important price points, especially in junky games like this. So I open with the silver, going for really mostly Soothsayer big money. I don't mind adding a lab or two in my deck on the odd 5. My opponent opens with a borrowed 5 for a Soothsayer, and I also borrow for a 5 here to pick up a Soothsayer. So my opponent gets nothing on their turn 2 here, presumably having only 2 coin. I have 2 coin here, but I'm gonna borrow to pick up a silver. The money is just too important. And also I know my opponent has Soothsayer, so it is possible for them to restore my hand size, which does end up happening here. So borrow gets a bit better in the face of Soothsayer and even Relic, I think. So here I play my Soothsayer, so we are at 1 curse each right now. I have 4, can go up to 5 to pick up what is either a lab, a relic, or a second Soothsayer. These are the major considerations. Alternatively, I could not borrow, pick up a silver. However, I opt for the second Soothsayer here. So I'm going hard into this money strategy at this point. So my opponent goes for 5 and picks up a lab, which is reasonable. Here on 6, get a gold. Not a difficult decision there. I'll pick up a lab or a relic when I have the odd 5, and I know I will have the odd 5. So my opponent plays a Soothsayer and gets me up to 6 cards there, but I only manage a silver. My opponent picks up another lab on 6 here. So they seem to be going for a more engine type strategy. So I'm glad there's some difference in the strategies here. We'll see which one works and which one doesn't, or learn from both anyway. I pick up a relic on 5. On 7 here, my opponent again has the choice between really gold and lab. I get hit with Soothsayer for a 3rd time, I believe, and my opponent picks up a lab there on the 7. So I play my Soothsayer, and on 5 here, again I can borrow for a gold, but that really doesn't seem attractive. Can get another relic, but instead I opt for a lab here. I'm not averse to having a few labs in my deck, it's not bad. Here my opponent has 5 and buys a lab, and on 8 here, well, it's already time to province for me. This is how the money strategy works. So 6, my opponent buys training and puts their token on lab. So here now I have an opportunity to buy gold, but after seeing my opponent put their training token on lab, I kinda want to cut into that a bit. When you put that token there, it's a target for other people to buy things, as that's what happens in my real life games. People, when you put your tokens on piles, people just buy them out before you, and we all have a bit of a laugh. Anyway, Soothsayer again here. I think I have delivered at least 5 curses to my opponent, and I pick up another province. Here my opponent has 10, goes for a province, and with this Soothsayer, I think I win the curse split 6-4. With 7 here, this is province because of borrow. I have no real hesitation borrowing in this game. Now there's no way to restore my hand size because all the curses are out, but that is okay with me. My opponent gets province number 2. Here on 6, I think the call is duchy over distant lands. Duchy is a lot better for me. My opponent can make better use of the distant lands actually, and it's something that I'm a bit concerned about. My opponent picks up a province here. This is 4 I can borrow for a duchy, and I do so given that there are only 2 provinces left in the game. I'm concerned about my opponent and distant lands because they have all the labs, so they can buy distant lands and get them on their map more quickly than I can. So hopefully I can get enough duchies and estates to compensate for that distant lands if it comes down to that. It doesn't necessarily have to come down to that. My opponent buys an estate there. Luckily I'm able to borrow here for a province and there's only 1 left, so game end is near. My opponent borrows for a duchy here. So here I play the relic on a turn where they borrowed, so it does absolutely nothing to them. So you see that in action. Here on 10 my opponent has to go for the duchy at this point. This is almost province for me, but almost province means duchy with 6. Just keeping slightly ahead of my opponent at this point. Another duchy for my opponent. Again 6 here, not 7. 7 would seal it up. Able to get duchy though. 6 here, can get the last duchy, but my opponent has enough money to do so. At this point, I can get the distant lands, or I can try to run estates. In the end, I decide to try to run the estates, even though I have no plus buy, because I think I can empty that pile sufficiently quickly before my opponent can get too many distant lands on their mat. In the end, it doesn't matter because I have the game here. So this is game 4, again, fairly straightforwardish. Putting that training token on the labs was decent. I'm happy to see different styles of strategies here. Alright, so thanks for watching, and that's the end of game 4.